A blast door blows inward, and smoke rolls across the deck. Out of the white comes a wall of white armor, identical, silent, every boot landing on the same beat. It is the best designed image in science fiction. And to be fair, it is cool. Now, who is paying for all those helmets? Because every one of those men is a person. Somebody found him. Somebody fed him for 18 years, trained him for 2 more, and fitted him for armor. Then somebody shipped him across the galaxy to get hit with a rock by a teddy bear. So we're gonna do the thing the Empire apparently never did. We're going to count. Count the cadets, the instructors, the plastic, and the funerals. And we're gonna find out that the Empire's real enemy was never the rebellion. It was the intake desk. Now, I don't want to make the lazy version of this argument. The lazy version is, Stormtroopers can't shoot. That's not analysis. That's a meme, and it's also wrong. Watch Rogue One. Watch them board the Tantive 4. When the plot doesn't need them to miss, they're terrifying. They drop rebels at range, in a hallway, under fire, in single shots. So no, we're going to assume every trooper is a competent professional. We're going to assume the armor works exactly as advertised. We're going to hand the Empire the very best version of itself, and then we're going to hand it a calculator. That's the part it doesn't survive. And their aim, by the way, isn't what kills them. We'll get there. So, test 1, bodies. Where do Stormtroopers actually come from? Let's anchor on a number you can check. An Imperial-class Star Destroyer carries a Stormtrooper complement of about 9,700 men, 1 legion, and the Empire, by the figure that gets thrown around most, runs roughly 25,000 of those ships. Multiply it out, that's 242 million Stormtroopers just to keep the fleet staffed, not the garrisons, not the academies, not the Death Star, just the boats. 242 million men, standing in hallways, waiting for a farm boy. If you're enjoying watching a fictional government get audited, hit like, because apparently this is what we do here now. Anyway, and that's only the ships. The Empire doesn't just fly around, it occupies. Every world it administers gets a garrison, a governor, a checkpoint, and somebody to stand behind the governor looking menacing. Say the Empire holds 1 million worlds, which is conservative for a galactic government. Give each one a thin token garrison of 1,000 troopers, which is insultingly small for planetary occupation. That's another billion men. So the honest headcount isn't 242 million, it's somewhere north of 1 billion, and the Empire has to feed all of them tonight. For perspective, at the absolute peak of the Second World War, the United States put about 16 million people in uniform. That came out of a population of 130 million. 12%, and it nearly broke the country. Factories ran short of workers. Farms ran short of hands. That is what total mobilization looks like, and it lasted 4 years with an end date in sight. The Empire is running a permanent one. Which brings us to test 2, the Academy. Canon is unusually clear here. The Stormtrooper program on Carida runs 2 years. 2 years of conditioning, weapons drill, vehicle training, and enough indoctrination to make a grown man stand still while a Wookiee walks past him. So model the pipeline, and from here on I'm throwing the garrisons away. We're going back to the small number, 242 million, the fleet only, because I'd rather be unfair to my own argument than to theirs. Give every trooper a 10-year career, which is generous. Real militaries lose closer to 10% of their people every year to injury, discharge, and getting shot. 10% of 242 million is 24 million. That's how many new Stormtroopers the Empire has to graduate every year, forever, just to stand still. 24 million graduates a year, out of a 2-year program, means 48 million cadets are inside the Academy system at any given moment. Somewhere, the intake desk has to find every one of them, and it has to do it again next year. Now staff it. Real armies run about 1 instructor per 30 recruits. 48 million divided by 30 is over 1.5 million full-time drill instructors. So the Empire needs a standing army of shouting men larger than the entire active-duty military of the United States. Their only job is to yell at other men who will later be killed by a bear. And every one of those instructors is a veteran, which means every one of them is a trooper who isn't on a Star Destroyer. Test 3. The plastic. 24 million new troopers a year means 24 million new suits of armor a year. That's roughly 66,000 sets a day, which means somewhere in the galaxy, a complete suit of Stormtrooper armor comes off a line every 1.3 seconds. 18 fitted plates, helmet, undersuit, boots, comlink, continuously, since the day the Empire was founded. And here's the part that hurts. It's fitted. Stormtrooper armor is issued to a man, not to a size, so this isn't a factory. It's the largest bespoke tailoring operation in the history of anything, run for a client base that keeps exploding. I know that number would come down with droids and salvage and standardization. Work with me here. Cut it clean in half and you're still finishing a suit every 3 seconds for 20 straight years. And then a teenager on Endor hits one with a log. Test 4. The bill that arrives every single morning. A working adult under load needs somewhere around 3,000 calories a day. Our 242 million troopers, at 3,000 each, is 727 billion calories, daily. That's about 1.3 billion Big Macs a day, delivered to men standing on volcanoes, ice planets, and a moon made of forest. There is no drive-through on Hoth. Then there's the training bill. In the real world, putting one infantry soldier through recruitment and basic runs well north of $50,000 before he's deployed anywhere. Credits, dollars, whatever. Take that number, be generous, and hold it flat. 24 million graduates a year at 50,000 each is 1.2 trillion a year. That is the tuition line. It buys nothing, it builds nothing, it produces no ships, no stations, no super lasers. It exists purely to replace men the Empire already had. An empire can survive a rebellion. It has a much harder time surviving a subscription. Which brings us to Test 5, the one that actually kills them, replacement. Here's the thing about a Stormtrooper. You cannot surge produce one. A blaster takes an afternoon. A TIE fighter takes a week. A man takes 18 years of somebody else's food, plus 2 years of academy on top. That's 20 years of lead time on your basic goddamn infantryman. The Empire cannot respond to a bad quarter. Whatever it loses today, the replacement arrives 2 decades from now. And this is where the Empire's own history walks up and confesses. Because the Empire used to have a solution. The clones. Grown to order. Matured in 10 years instead of 20. Trained from birth. No recruiters. No families. No consent required. A functioning, self-replenishing army. And the Empire, deliberately, as policy, phased them out. Palpatine, Emperor of the Galaxy, Master of the Dark Side, first of his name. He looks at a working human manufacturing pipeline and decides he'd rather do HR. Why? Fear. Camino is one planet, and one planet can be taken. Clones obey their programming, and programming can be rewritten by whoever holds the transmitter. Politically, it's a defensible call. Logistically, it's the most expensive decision in galactic history, and it opens a hole the clones never had. Volunteers can leave. A clone doesn't quit. A clone has no hometown, no cousins, no letters from a mother on a world the Empire just glassed. A recruit has all of that. So now the Empire is carrying something no clone army ever budgeted for: desertion. Every deserter costs 20 years of lead time and takes the training with him. Sometimes he takes the armor, the codes, and the map to the base. The Empire never lost a war to the rebellion. It kept accidentally donating to it. So let's run the model against what actually happens on screen. Yavin, the first Death Star. Depending on the source, somewhere between 1 and 2 million people are aboard when it goes up. Roughly 26,000 of them are Stormtroopers. 26,000 men, each carrying 2 years of academy, is 52,000 years of human training. It's deleted in under 4 seconds by a 20-year-old who has never flown a combat mission. Then they do it again. A second station, bigger, staffed while still under construction. Same trench, same result. Hoth. The Empire finds the rebel base, drops a full ground assault, walkers and all, and wins. Look at what winning costs. It ships an entire legion to an ice planet to capture roughly 1,000 rebels, most of whom fly away anyway. The Empire spends 20-year assets to chase people who can leave. And Endor. Palpatine's exact words, an entire legion of his best troops. A legion is our 9,700 elite troopers, 20,000 years of formal training, close to 200,000 years of total human life, birth to blaster, and they get their shit kicked in on the ground by a species whose peak military technology is a heavy log on a rope. The Empire doesn't lose these battles because its soldiers are bad. It loses them because it keeps its soldiers in enormous, irreplaceable stacks. Now at this point, someone is already typing, and what they're typing is, the galaxy has 100 quadrillion people in it. 24 million a year is a rounding error. You could lose a Death Star every Tuesday and nobody would notice. Yes, and that is exactly why it doesn't work. Because the Empire isn't recruiting from 100 quadrillion people. It's a human supremacist regime, in a galaxy where humans are a minority. It draws overwhelmingly from the core worlds, and those are the same worlds staffing its shipyards, running its banks, and welding its moons together. Every trooper is a shipwright who isn't building ships, and the further it pushes outward, the more it has to recruit from populations it has just finished bombing. Which is how you get FN 2187, taken as a child, raised, trained, armored, deployed, and gone inside one day of watching a village burn. The pool was never the problem. Consent is. So, do Stormtroopers make sense? As an image, completely. As a police force, for maybe a decade, yes, and a genuinely frightening one. As a field army, they work right up until they meet anybody who refuses to stand still in a hallway, and as an institution meant to last 1,000 years? No, not remotely. This is a regime that built a moon-sized battle station twice and could not build a personnel department once. The intake desk was always going to win. It could mass-produce the armor. It could never mass-produce the man inside it. Thanks for watching a fictional government get audited. Tell me in the comments which army you want run through the spreadsheet next. And if you're still here, I am legally required to give you a doggy cam reward. But before that, one last nugget of doom. Remember the helmet. Luke puts one on in the detention block, and the first thing out of his mouth is that he can't see a thing in it. That's canon. So the Empire spends 20 years and untold billions building a bespoke suit for every soldier it owns. And the flagship feature of that suit is that it makes the soldier worse at his one job. Which means you were right about the aiming after all. It just was never their fault. It was procurement.